I walked through the front door of my parents' house after the longest week of my life, dropped my duffel bag in the hallway, and headed straight for my room. 5 days of non-stop debugging critical software for my company left me exhausted but excited to finally unwind with my custom-built gaming PC. I pushed open my bedroom door and froze. My entire gaming setup was gone. The desk sat empty except for dangling cables. My monitors, keyboard, mouse, headset, everything vanished. My heart stopped. I rushed to the living room where my parents sat, laughing with my sister Madison, who was surrounded by designer shopping bags. My mother smiled at me casually and said they sold my PC to fund Madison's college wardrobe. I stood there, unable to move, unable to process the words that just came out of my mother's mouth. The room felt like it was tilting sideways. My father looked up from his newspaper with complete indifference, as if my mother had just told me they'd picked up groceries. "What do you mean you sold it?" My voice came out strange, hollow. "Your computer, sweetie. Madison needed clothes for college, and you weren't using it anyway since you were on your trip." My mother said this like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. I built that PC component by component over 2 years. Every bonus check from work, every overtime shift, every freelance coding project I took on, I saved for those parts. Custom water cooling system that took me 3 weekends to install properly. A high-end graphics card I waited 6 months to find at a reasonable price. RGB lighting I carefully programmed to match my setup. I researched every single component for weeks before purchasing. That was a $3,000 computer. My hands started shaking. I built that myself. How could you just sell it without asking me? My father folded his newspaper with deliberate slowness. "You're 26 years old, Harrison. Not a teenager. It's just a computer. You're acting like we sold your kidney." Madison sat on the couch, smirking, showing off a designer purse that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. New jeans with the tags still attached draped over the armrest. Expensive leather boots sat in an open box at her feet. Makeup bags from high-end stores cluttered the coffee table. She looked like she'd robbed a department store. "Just a computer? Dad, I use that for my freelance work. I have contracts, deadlines. How much did you even sell it for?" I knew the answer would hurt, but I needed to hear it. $800. Some nice young man from Facebook Marketplace picked it up yesterday. Very polite fellow. My father went back to reading his paper as if the conversation was over. $800 for a $3,000 custom rig. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "You sold my $3,000 computer for $800. Do you have any idea what you've done?" My mother's face shifted into that expression I knew too well, the one where she was about to make me feel guilty for being upset. "Madison needs to look presentable for college, Harrison. First impressions matter. She starts in 3 weeks and had nothing appropriate to wear. We're her parents. We have to help her succeed. I'm your son, and you just stole from me." The words felt harsh coming out, but they were true. Madison laughed, actually laughed, holding up a new watch on her wrist. "Stole? That's dramatic. Besides, you can just buy another one if it matters that much. You have a good job." I stared at my 18-year-old sister, trying to recognize the kid I used to play video games with, the one I taught how to ride a bike. This person was a stranger. I worked for 2 years to build that PC, saved every extra dollar, and you think I can just replace it like it's nothing? "You have a laptop. Use that." My father didn't even look up this time. "We don't need permission to make decisions in our own house. We're your parents." The casual dismissal of my property, my work, my boundaries, hit me like a wave of ice water. They genuinely saw nothing wrong with what they'd done. I noticed more shopping bags partially hidden behind the couch. Madison was also wearing new shoes I hadn't seen before, probably another $200 right there. "How much did you actually spend on all of this?" I gestured at the mountain of shopping bags. My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, we also treated ourselves to a nice family dinner last night at that new steakhouse downtown. The one with the dry-aged beef. It was wonderful. You should have been there, but you were still traveling." They'd used my money to take themselves out to an expensive dinner while I was working 70-hour weeks to fix critical bugs in our company's software. They didn't even save me leftovers. I felt invisible, like a ghost haunting my own family. Give me the buyer's information. I'll contact them and buy it back. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Absolutely not. The deal is done. The money is spent. We're not going back on our word to that nice young man. My father's tone left no room for argument, or so he thought. Madison stretched out on the couch like a cat, admiring her new boots. Honestly, Harrison, you're making such a big deal out of nothing. It's just stuff, material things. I thought you were supposed to be the mature one. Something crystallized in that moment. I looked at the three of them, really looked at them, and saw something I'd been blind to my whole life. They didn't see me as a person. They saw me as a resource, an ATM machine that occasionally needed maintenance. My wants, my needs, my property. None of it mattered compared to what Madison wanted or what they wanted. I walked back to my room without another word. My empty desk mocked me. The cable management holes I'd drilled myself. The monitor arm mounts I'd installed. The ergonomic setup I'd perfected over months. All of it useless now. I sat on my bed and tried to breathe through the rage and hurt mixing in my chest. This wasn't just about the computer anymore. This was about respect, boundaries, and basic human decency. And my family had just shown me they didn't think I deserved any of those things. Sleep didn't come that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying the conversation over and over, each repetition making me angrier. Around 2 a.m, I got up and started doing a mental inventory of my possessions, really thinking about what had disappeared over the years. My vinyl record collection. My uncle had given me 50 classic rock albums before he moved to Oregon 3 years ago. Original pressings, some of them rare. I'd kept them in protective sleeves in my closet. Last year, I'd gone to play one and discovered they were all gone. My father said he'd donated them to Goodwill because they were taking up space and nobody listened to vinyl anymore. I'd been upset, but he'd made me feel ridiculous for caring about old records. My grandfather's vintage watch. A beautiful mechanical piece from the 1960s that had left specifically to me in his will. 6 months ago, I'd wanted to wear it to a job interview and couldn't find it anywhere. My mother said Shed looked for it but couldn't remember where Shed put it. She suggested maybe I'd misplaced it during a move, even though I'd never moved out of this house. That watch was worth at least $2,000. Then there was my car situation from 2 years ago. I'd bought a decent used sedan with my own money. Nothing fancy but reliable. One morning I came out for work and it was gone, just vanished from the driveway. My parents said it must have been stolen, filed a police report, made a big show of being supportive. Insurance barely covered anything and I'd had to buy a cheaper replacement, setting me back months financially. That was right after Madison's senior year spring break. She'd gone to Miami with her friends, stayed in a nice hotel, posted pictures on social media of fancy restaurants and beach clubs. I remembered thinking at the time that my parents must have really stretched their budget to give her that experience. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. I got up and quietly walked down the hallway to my father's home office. The house was silent, everyone asleep. I tested the door handle, unlocked. My father was usually meticulous about security, but apparently didn't think he needed to lock doors inside his own house. Or maybe he didn't think anyone would dare question him. The office was neat and organized, filing cabinets labeled by year and category. I found the one marked financial, personal, and carefully opened it. Inside were folders with bank statements, tax documents, and receipts. My hands were shaking as I started looking through them. Then I found it. A bill of sale for a 2015 Honda Civic, my car, sold to a private buyer for $4,000. Dated exactly when my car went missing. My father's signature at the bottom. My hands went numb. I kept digging, being careful to remember exactly where everything was so I could put it all back. Bank statements from 3 years ago showing a withdrawal from my savings account. $3,000. Gone in one transaction. I'd noticed it at the time, gone to the bank, convinced it was an error. My parents had been with me, backed up my confusion, but the bank showed my signature on the withdrawal slip. I'd thought maybe I'd forgotten doing it. Been so busy with work that I'd lost track. That gaslit me into doubting my own memory. That was right before Madison's high school graduation party. The big, expensive catered event in our backyard with the rented tent and the live band. I remembered my mother saying they'd been saving for it. Wanted to give Madison a memorable celebration. I found another document, this one older. A savings bond from my grandmother. Made out in my name. $5,000. Purchased when I was 10 years old. Meant to mature when I turned 21. Cashed 3 years ago. My signature on the back. But I'd never seen this bond before in my life. I never even knew it existed. My grandmother had died when I was 19. That bond would have matured right after her death. 3 years ago, I was 23. That was when Madison needed braces and insisted on the invisible kind, the expensive orthodontic treatment that cost thousands of dollars. My parents had complained about the cost, but said Madison's confidence was worth it. I took pictures of every document with my phone, being careful to use no flash, keeping the camera steady. My hands were shaking so badly the first few photos came out blurry. I had to stop and breathe, force myself to be calm and methodical. This was evidence. I needed it to be clear. When I finished, I carefully replaced everything exactly as ID found it, closed the filing cabinet, and walked back to my room on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. I sat on my bed and went through the photos, the evidence of years of systematic theft by my own parents. They'd been stealing from me for years. Every time Madison wanted something expensive, they took from me, forged my signature, lied to my face, made me doubt my own sanity when I questioned where my money had gone. And I'd been paying rent, $500 a month for the past 4 years. I'd moved back after college to save money, and my parents had insisted I contribute to household expenses. I'd thought it was fair, reasonable even. But my parents owned this house outright. My mother's parents had bought it for them as a wedding gift 30 years ago. There was no mortgage. $24,000 in rent over 4 years. Where had that money gone? I opened my laptop and started researching. Tenant rights, theft, fraud, forgery, options for adult children stolen from by their parents. The internet was full of similar stories, other people realizing too late that their families had been exploiting them. Around 4 in the morning, exhaustion finally overtook the adrenaline, but I didn't sleep well. I dreamed of empty rooms and locked doors and my own face on wanted posters accusing me of crimes I didn't commit. Morning came too fast and too bright. I'd maybe slept 2 hours. But I had purpose now. Clarity that anger had crystallized into something sharp and useful. I got dressed, drove to the library when it opened at 8, and printed out every photo I'd taken. 30 pages of evidence, bank statements, bills of sale, forged signatures, everything. I returned home around 9 to find my whole family eating breakfast together like a Norman Rockwell painting. Pancakes, bacon, orange juice in fancy glasses. Madison was on her phone. My mother was humming. My father was reading the news on his tablet. Perfectly normal, perfectly content. I walked to the table and placed the stack of papers in the center, right between the syrup and the butter dish. My father's face went from confusion to pale to red in the span of about 5 seconds. My mother's smile froze on her face. I'd like you to explain these. I kept my voice level, calm. Therapists call this regulated. I'd looked it up. You went through my private office? My personal files. My father's voice was rising. These are documents about my property, my money, my possessions. I'd say that makes them relevant to me. My mother's shock transformed into defensive anger with impressive speed. How dare you invade our privacy like this? Were your parents, Harrison? You had no right to go through our things, and you had no right to steal from me for years. But here we are. I pointed at the car bill of sale. My car wasn't stolen. You sold it. $4,000, right before Madison's Miami trip. I pointed at the bank statement. My savings account. $3,000 withdrawn with my forged signature. Right before Madison's graduation party, I pointed at the savings bond. $5,000 from Grandma that I never even knew existed, cashed with my forged signature. Right before Madison's invisible braces, Madison had gone very quiet, her phone down on the table, her face unreadable. My father stood up fast enough that his chair scraped loudly against the floor. This is my house. Those are my files. You broke into my office. I could call the police right now and have you arrested for breaking and entering." I almost laughed. The audacity of it took my breath away. "Please do call the police. I'd love to show them these documents. I'm sure they'd be very interested in the multiple counts of forgery and identity theft." My mother started crying, right on cue. The tears that always made me feel like a monster for upsetting her. "How can you accuse us like this? We gave you life. We raised you. We fed you and clothed you and put a roof over your head. Is this how you repay us? With accusations and threats?" "I repaid you by being a good son, by working hard, by never asking you for anything. And you stole from me anyway." "We borrowed," my father said, his jaw tight. "Family borrows from family. That's how it works. You'll get it back eventually." "When? Give me a date. Tell me when you plan to pay me back for my car, for my savings, for the bond from Grandma." Silence. Madison finally spoke, and her words hit harder than anything else that morning. I knew about all of it. I turned to look at her. She was staring at her plate, not meeting my eyes, but she kept talking. "Every time they sold something of yours, every time they took money, I knew. And honestly, I think you're being pathetic making such a big deal out of this. It's just stuff, Harrison. Material things. Family is supposed to share, supposed to help each other. You make good money at your fancy tech job. Why are you being so selfish? I'm a struggling college student. I need help. They're just trying to be good parents." I felt something break inside me. Some last thread of connection to these people. "You think I'm selfish? Yes, you got lucky with your tech skills, landed a good job, and now you act like you're too good to help your own sister. It's not fair that you have everything and I have to struggle. I worked for everything I have. Nobody gave it to me. I paid for college with scholarships and loans I'm still paying off. I worked part-time through school. I learned to code by staying up until 3 in the morning teaching myself. None of that was luck, Madison. That was work. Whatever." She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes at me. "You're still being dramatic about some old computer and stuff you weren't even using." My father jumped back in, sensing support. "As long as you live under this roof, Harrison, what's yours is ours. That's how family works. We sacrifice for each other. Or did we raise you to be selfish and ungrateful?" I looked at my mother. "And you agree with this?" She wiped her tears, her voice taking on that martyred tone Shed perfected over the years. "We sacrificed so much raising you, Harrison. Do you have any idea what we gave up? The vacations we didn't take, the things we didn't buy for ourselves? Your private school tuition, your sports equipment, your college expenses, and this is the thanks we get." The rewriting of history was breathtaking. Grandma Matthews paid for private school, her trust fund. I worked part-time jobs for my sports equipment. I paid for college with scholarships and loans. We provided emotional support. We drove you places. We attended your games. That has value too. That's called being a parent. That's the baseline. Not some enormous sacrifice that entitles you to steal from me for the rest of my life. My father's expression hardened. "Give me the buyer's information for the computer. I need it back so I can complete the sale properly." "No, that's not a request, Harrison. I sold that computer. The new owner needs to keep it. And we need to finalize the transaction properly. You had no right to sell it. It was mine. I bought every component. I built it. And am going to get it back. If you keep pushing this, I will make your life very difficult." My father's voice dropped to something cold and threatening. "I have connections in the tech community here. I know people at other companies. I could make some calls, share concerns about your stability, your judgment. How do you think your employer would feel knowing you're making wild accusations against your own family?" I stared at him. He was threatening my career, my livelihood, because I dared to object to being robbed. My mother added her piece, voice trembling. "If you don't drop this right now and apologize for violating our privacy and making these horrible accusations, you're not welcome at Thanksgiving this year. Or Christmas. We won't have someone in our home who treats us like criminals. Madison smirked, clearly enjoying the show. Maybe you should just move out if you hate us so much. Find your own place. See how much you miss having family around. They all looked at me, waiting for me to back down like I always had before, waiting for me to apologize and make peace and pretend everything was fine, waiting for me to be the good son, the easy son, the son who never caused problems. I picked up my stack of papers. Okay, it'll be gone by tomorrow. My mother gasped. My father's eyes narrowed. Madison's smirk faltered just slightly. Don't be dramatic, my father said. I'm not. You've made it very clear that my property, my money, my boundaries mean nothing to you. You're right, Madison. I should move out. I walked to my room and closed the door. My hands were shaking again, but this time it felt different. Not fear or anger, but something like relief. I pulled out my phone and called Tyler, my best friend from work. Hey man, is that spare room in your new place still available? Tyler didn't hesitate. Of course. When do you need it? Today, if possible. What happened? I gave him the abbreviated version. Tyler and his girlfriend Jennifer had bought a 3-bedroom house 6 months ago in a nice neighborhood about 20 minutes from my work. They'd been offering me the spare room for months, said they could use help with utilities. It always declined, not wanting to impose, not wanting to admit that living with my parents at 26 felt like failure. Come over right now. Well, help you move. I don't want to intrude on your Saturday. Harrison, we've been asking you to move in for months. Get over here. I started packing immediately. Clothes, toiletries, important documents, my laptop, the external hard drives with all my freelance work backed up. Everything that truly mattered fit in my car in 3 trips. It accumulated less than I thought over the years, probably because every time I got something nice, it mysteriously disappeared. My parents' cars were gone when I made my final trip. Out running errands, probably. Or maybe avoiding the confrontation. I left my house key on the kitchen counter next to a note that said only, "I'll be in touch about the computer and the stolen money." Tyler and Jennifer's house was beautiful. Modern construction, open floor plan, a neighborhood where people actually maintained their lawns. My room was the smaller of the 2 spare bedrooms, but it was clean and furnished with a bed, dresser, and desk. Simple, but perfect. Rent is $400 a month plus split utilities 3 ways, Tyler said. But honestly, if you need time to save up after dealing with your family situation, don't stress about it. No, I pay my way. $400 is more than fair. Jennifer brought me fresh towels and showed me how their shower worked. We usually do family dinner on Sundays, but there's no pressure. Come and go as you please. This is your home now, too. I almost cried. The casual kindness, the respect for my space and my autonomy, felt foreign after years of walking on eggshells. That first night in my new room, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Actual peace. The house was quiet. Nobody was going through my things. Nobody was scheming about what they could take from me next. I set up my laptop on the desk and started going through my freelance contracts. Without my gaming PC, I'd have to do everything on my laptop. It was functional but limiting. The laptop was fine for basic coding but struggled with the more complex projects I usually took on. The following week was a blur of work and adjustment. My regular job kept me busy, and in the evenings I took on smaller freelance projects that my laptop could handle. Tyler and Jennifer treated me like a real roommate, not a guest. We split groceries, took turns cooking, watched movies together on weeknights. This was what healthy relationships looked like, I realized. Mutual respect, clear communication, reciprocal support. Tuesday afternoon, I was at my desk at work when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mr. Harrison Matthews. Speaking. This is Rebecca Chen from First National Bank's Fraud Department. We're calling about an attempted credit card application in your name. My blood went cold. What? Someone attempted to open a new credit card account using your name and social security number approximately 4 hours ago. The application was automatically declined due to the fraud alert you have on your credit file. We're calling to verify you didn't initiate this application. I absolutely did not. Can you tell me what address was listed on the application? She gave me my parents' address. Of course. That's my parents' house. I recently moved out. They've been stealing from me. Can you send me documentation of this attempt? Yes. Well, email you the full details. I'd recommend filing a police report and placing a credit freeze with all 3 bureaus if you haven't already. I thanked her and hung up, feeling sick. My parents had actually tried to open a credit card in my name, identity theft, a federal crime. Part of me wanted to march over there and confront them. Part of me just felt sad. How desperate were they? Or how entitled? I drove to the police station during my lunch break and filed a report. The officer was sympathetic but realistic. Family cases are tough. Even with clear evidence, prosecution is complicated. Judges are often reluctant to press charges against parents, but having a paper trail protects you legally. That evening, I placed credit freezes with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Checked my credit report thoroughly. Nothing else suspicious yet. But who knew what they might have tried that hadn't triggered alerts? I felt violated in a new way. They weren't just taking my physical possessions anymore. They were trying to destroy my financial future, saddle me with debt, ruin my credit. And for what? Madison's shopping sprees? My father's mysterious money problems? Thursday night, I was in a private Discord server I belonged to, a group of freelance developers who shared job leads and advice. I posted vaguely about my situation, not using names, just mentioning that I was looking for a specific gaming PC build that had been sold without my permission from my family's house. Long shot, I knew. But the tech community in our area wasn't huge. A guy named Kevin responded within minutes. Dude, this is weird, but my teenage nephew just bought a gaming PC matching that exact description from Facebook Marketplace like 3 weeks ago. Custom water cooling, specific GPU model, the RGB setup you mentioned. My sister let him use his birthday money for it. My heart started racing. I messaged Kevin privately with more specific details. The serial number of my graphics card that ID registered for warranty. The custom paint job on the case. The specific configuration of the water cooling loop. Kevin sent me photos his nephew had taken. That was my PC. Unmistakably mine. Kevin, that's definitely it. Your nephew bought stolen property. I can prove it's mine. Oh man, my sister is going to be furious. She's really strict about teaching him to do the right thing. Can you meet with them? We arranged to meet Saturday morning. Kevin's sister Sarah lived 3 towns over, about 45 minutes away. I brought every piece of documentation I had, receipts for components, photos of me building it, warranty registrations, everything. Sarah answered the door with her son Brandon, a gangly 15-year-old who looked terrified. I swear I didn't know it was stolen, sir. You're not in trouble, Brandon. You did nothing wrong. We sat at their kitchen table. I showed them everything. Photos of me assembling the PC step by step, receipts with my name, the custom touches that made it unmistakably mine. Sarah's face grew darker with every piece of evidence. Someone sold stolen property to my son. I paid $800 for this. I know. My parents sold it without my permission. I'm not asking you to take a loss. I just want my PC back. Brandon looked at his mother. Mom, we have to give it back. It's his. Sarah shook her head. Absolutely, we're giving it back. But in pursuing your parents for a refund, Harrison, this is fraud. My son saved his birthday money for months for this. I have copies of everything if you need evidence. He'll take you up on that. Brandon helped me carry the tower, monitors, keyboard, mouse, and headset to my car. Had taken good care of it, kept it clean, even improved the cable management slightly. I really loved this PC, he said quietly. I'm sorry someone stole it from you. I'm sorry your birthday present turned out to be stolen goods. That's not fair to you. My mom will make it right. She always does. Driving back to Tyler's house with my PC secured in the back seat felt surreal. I'd gotten it back, not through my family, not through some miracle, but through the basic human decency of strangers who valued doing what was right over keeping something that didn't belong to them. Tyler helped me carry everything upstairs. We set it up in my room, and when I pressed the power button and heard that familiar hum, saw my custom boot screen light up, I felt a wave of emotion I hadn't expected. This wasn't just a computer. It was proof that not everyone in the world was like my parents. Some people still had integrity. The next 2 weeks settled into a comfortable rhythm. I had my PC back, my living situation was stable, and work was going well. It blocked my parents' phone numbers, but they'd figured out how to leave voicemails through some app that blocked caller ID. Id received 47 messages in 2 weeks. The first batch were angry, demanding I return their property immediately, threatening legal action, accusing me of theft. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so disturbing. Then came the guilt trips. My mother's crying voicemails about how Id abandoned the family, broken her heart, ruined Madison's college experience by creating family drama. My father's stern messages about respect and duty and how disappointed he was in me. Finally came the threats. They'd make sure everyone knew what an ungrateful son I was. They'd ruin my reputation. They'd contest my grandmother's will somehow. Empty threats from desperate people, but unsettling nonetheless. I ignored all of it and focused on work. My promotion to senior developer had come with new responsibilities. I was leading a small team on a project to rebuild our company's authentication system. Challenging work, but rewarding. My manager, David, appreciated my attention to detail and problem-solving approach. Thursday afternoon, 2 weeks after moving out, our receptionist, Kimberly, called my extension. "Harrison, there are 2 people in the lobby asking for you. They say they're your parents." My stomach dropped. "You'll be right there." I found my manager, David, first. "My parents are here. I don't want to see them, but I don't want to cause a scene." David's eyebrows rose. "Want me to come with you? Would you mind?" We went to the lobby together. My parents were there. My father in a business suit, like he was conducting an important meeting. My mother dressed up and looking distressed. They saw me, and both started talking at once. "Harrison, we need to talk about this situation immediately." "Sweetheart, please, this has gone on long enough. We can talk outside," I said quietly. "Not here." "No, this won't take long." My father's voice was firm. "You need to drop that police report immediately. You're making us look like criminals in our community." Madison is mortified. Her friends' parents are asking questions. "This ends now. You committed identity theft." I filed an accurate report. My mother's voice rose, drawing attention from other employees passing through the lobby. "You're tearing this family apart over a computer, over money. Is that what we taught you?" "To value things over family. You taught me that my boundaries don't matter, that you can take whatever you want from me. I'm just correcting that lesson." My father stepped closer, his voice dropping to something threatening. "If you don't comply, we will make your life very difficult. I have connections. People respect me. We'll make sure everyone knows what kind of son you really are." David cleared his throat. "Excuse me, but I need to ask you folks to leave. This is a workplace, not a family therapy session." My mother gasped like David had slapped her. "Who are you?" "David Chen, Harrison's manager. And I'm asking you politely to leave the premises." My father's eyes narrowed. "We're his parents. We have a right to speak with our son. Not at his workplace, you don't. If Harrison wants to speak with you, he can do so on his own time. Security can escort you out if needed." "This is ridiculous. Harrison, we're trying to help you. The computer needs to be returned to us. We sold it. We're responsible for completing that transaction. And you're being unreasonable about a few minor financial misunderstandings from the past." I felt David tense beside me. He didn't know the full story yet, but he was clearly picking up on the dysfunction. "The computer is mine. I have it back. And those weren't misunderstandings, Dad. That was theft. Forgery. Years of it." My mother started crying loudly. Other employees were definitely watching now. I felt my face burn with embarrassment. "Please, just go. We can talk later if needed. But not here. If you don't return that computer and drop the police report, you're not welcome at Thanksgiving or Christmas or any family gathering. You'll lose your family forever." My mother delivered this like it was the ultimate threat. Then I guess I've lost my family. "David, can you call security?" My father's face went red. "You'll regret this, Harrison. I'll make sure of it." Security arrived, two professional guards who politely but firmly escorted my parents out. They were shouting threats the whole way about ruining my career, contacting my employer, telling everyone what an ungrateful son I was. The lobby fell silent. I felt everyone's eyes on me. I wanted to disappear. David touched my shoulder. My office. Now. I followed him, expecting to be reprimanded for bringing personal drama to work. This was mortifying, unprofessional. Exactly what my father probably wanted to make me look unstable at my job. David closed his office door and gestured for me to sit. He sat behind his desk, quiet for a long moment. 2 days ago, I got a strange phone call. Someone claiming to be a concerned family friend said you were having a mental breakdown, stealing from family, making wild accusations. Suggested the company should consider terminating you before you became a liability. My mouth went dry. My father called you. I assumed so, after what I just witnessed. The caller wouldn't give their name, but it was definitely an older man. I made a note of it but took no action because it didn't match the employee I know. You're reliable, stable, professional, but now I'm understanding the context. I felt sick. I'm so sorry for bringing this drama to work. That was completely inappropriate of them. What exactly is going on, Harrison? You don't have to tell me, but I suspect this is more serious than a family squabble. So I told him. Everything. The stolen PC, the forged signatures, the years of theft, the credit card fraud attempt, moving out, all of it. David listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. When I finished, he was quiet for another long moment. Then he said, I had a similar situation with my brother years ago, family financial abuse. It's more common than people think, and it's devastating because society expects you to just forgive family no matter what they do. I'm impressed you set boundaries and left. I didn't know what else to do. You did exactly the right thing. David leaned back in his chair. Now, different topic. There's a senior developer position opening up. Lead role on a major new project. 20% pay increase. Better benefits package. More autonomy. I've been considering several candidates. My heart sank. He was telling me I wasn't getting it. That this family drama made me look too unstable. The position is yours if you want it. I blinked. What? You've shown maturity, problem-solving skills, and integrity through an incredibly difficult situation. You set boundaries with people who were exploiting you. You didn't retaliate or escalate. You just protected yourself and moved forward. That takes strength. Plus, your technical work has been excellent. The team respects you. You're the right choice for this role. I couldn't speak for a moment. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes. Absolutely yes. Thank you. Good. HR will have the paperwork ready by Monday. Also, if your parents contact this company again, they'll be permanently banned from the premises, and will pursue harassment charges if necessary. You're protected here, Harrison. Focus on your work, and let us handle any external interference. I left David's office feeling like id stepped into an alternate reality. My parents had tried to destroy my career. Instead, id gotten promoted. They'd tried to make me look unstable. Instead, my manager had validated my choices and offered support. For the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like maybe, just maybe, things were actually going to be okay. A month passed. Life took on a new quality, lighter, freer, more mine than it had ever been. My promotion came with challenging projects and increased responsibility. But I thrived under the pressure, working closely with senior management, being included in strategic planning meetings, leading my own small team, all of it reinforced that I'd made the right choice leaving. My freelance work picked up too. With my gaming PC back, I could take on more complex contracts. I was saving aggressively, building an emergency fund, contributing to my retirement account properly for the first time. Money that had always disappeared before was now mine to manage. Tyler and Jennifer became the family id never really had. We grilled dinner together on weeknights when weather permitted, binged streaming shows on weekends, helped each other with house projects. When Tyler's car broke down, I drove him to work for a week without hesitation. When I got sick with the flu, Jennifer made soup and checked on me. This was what reciprocal relationships looked like: give and take, mutual support, respect. Id started therapy too, something I'd been avoiding for years. My therapist, Dr. Patricia Simmons, helped me process the years of manipulation I'd normalized. We talked about enmeshment, parentification, scapegoating. I learned vocabulary for things I'd experienced but never understood were abnormal. Your parents treated you like a parent rather than a child. Dr. Simmons explained one session. They expected you to meet their needs rather than them meeting yours. And when you were no longer willing to be their emotional and financial caretaker, they retaliated. This is textbook narcissistic family dysfunction. Learning that what it experienced had names, patterns, case studies, it was validating and devastating at the same time. I'd spent years thinking I was the problem, that I should try harder, be more understanding. But the problem had never been me. One Saturday night around 10, aggressive knocking rattled Tyler's front door. I was in my room coding, but the urgency of the sound made me get up. Tyler got to the door first, and I heard a familiar voice. "I need to see Harrison. Right now." Madison. I came to the doorway. She was drunk, obviously drunk, makeup smeared, eyes red from crying. She looked terrible in a way that went beyond the alcohol worn down, older than her 18 years. "Can we talk?" Her voice broke on the words. Tyler looked at me questioningly. I nodded. He stepped aside and Madison stumbled in, heading straight for the living room couch where she collapsed. "I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything," Tyler said quietly, giving me an out if I needed it. I got Madison a glass of water and sat in the chair across from her. "What's going on?" She drank half the water in one gulp, then started crying again. "You ruined everything. The bank is foreclosing on the house. We're losing it. Mom and Dad are freaking out. It's all falling apart and it's your fault for abandoning us." I felt that old familiar guilt rising, the conditioning that told me I was responsible for their problems. Then I remembered Dr. Simmons' words, "Not my circus, not my monkeys. How is that my fault?" "They own that house outright. There's no mortgage." Madison laughed, a bitter sound. "You don't know anything. You never knew anything because they kept you in the dark, just like they kept me in the dark for years. Then explain it to me." She took a shaky breath. "Dad has a gambling problem. Has had one for like a decade. Sports betting, casino trips, online poker. Has lost so much money, Harrison. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. They took out a second mortgage on the house 5 years ago to pay off his debts. Then another one 2 years ago when he relapsed." The room felt like it was tilting. "What? Your rent money, the money from selling your stuff. All of it went to making minimum payments on the mortgages and his gambling debts. When you left, they couldn't cover the payments anymore." Madison's voice was flat, emotionless, like she was reading a grocery list. "I had to drop out of college after one semester. All those clothes they bought me? I'm returning what I can and selling the rest. I work 40 hours a week at Target now just to help with bills. We're getting evicted in 60 days. I sat there trying to process this information. My father, who'd always seemed so controlled, so judgmental, had a secret gambling addiction that had destroyed the family finances, and they'd been using me as their personal bailout fund for years. Why are you telling me this? Because Mom said if I came here and begged, you might help. You're making good money now with your promotion, yeah. They know about that. They have their ways of finding things out. You could help us keep the house, just for a little while until they get back on their feet." There it was, the real reason for her visit. Not to apologize, not to take accountability, but to manipulate me into fixing their problems. How much do they owe? I don't know exactly. A lot, maybe $200,000 total. Tyler, who'd apparently been listening from the kitchen, stepped into the doorway. "That's not a temporary problem Harrison could fix. That's years of systematic financial mismanagement. No amount of short-term help would solve that." Madison glared at him. "Nobody asked you. This is family business. I'm Harrison's family now, too. Found family counts. Found family." Madison spat the words like they were poison. "That's not real family." Real family is blood. Real family doesn't abandon each other when things get hard. Real family doesn't steal from each other either, I said quietly. Real family doesn't forge signatures or commit identity theft or sell each other's property. We were desperate. Don't you understand? We needed help and you were the only one who could help us. You never asked. You just took. For years. And made me feel crazy for noticing. Madison stood up, swaying slightly. So that's it? You're just going to let us lose the house? Let your family be homeless? What kind of person does that make you? A person with boundaries. Madison, you need to leave. I can't drive. I'm drunk. Tyler pulled out his phone. I'm calling you a rideshare. Give me your address. Madison rattled it off, then turned to me one more time. They're your parents, Harrison. They made mistakes, but they're still your parents. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It used to mean everything. That's why it took me so long to see what they were doing. But being someone's parent doesn't give you unlimited rights to exploit them. The rideshare arrived 10 minutes later. Tyler walked Madison out to make sure she got in the car safely. When he came back, he found me still sitting in the living room, staring at nothing. You okay? My father is a gambling addict. They've been using me as their bailout fund for years. The house is in foreclosure. None of that is your responsibility to fix. I know. But it still hurts. Of course it does. They're still your parents. You can love them and still have boundaries. I went to bed that night but couldn't sleep. Something Madison said was bothering me. The house. My grandmother's house. Shed died 7 years ago, and the house had supposedly passed to my parents. But had it? My grandmother had always been meticulous about estate planning. I remembered her talking about trusts and making sure everything was set up properly. Monday after work, I drove to the county recorder's office. It was open until 5, and I made it with 20 minutes to spare. I requested the property records for my parents' house. The woman behind the counter printed them out and handed them to me. I sat in my car in the parking lot reading through the documents, and my hands started shaking. The house wasn't in my parents' names. It was in a family trust. The Matthews Family Trust, created by my grandmother 11 years ago. The beneficiary was listed as Harrison David Matthews, my full name including my middle name. The trustee, the person who was supposed to manage the property until I reached a certain age, was my mother. She was supposed to transfer ownership to me when I turned 25. Id turned 26 4 months ago. The house was mine. Had been mine. Should have been transferred to me 6 months ago. My parents had been living in my house. Had taken out illegal mortgages on my property, had been collecting rent from me to live in my own house. I took photos of every page, then called the real estate attorney whose number Dr. Simmons had given me last week when it mentioned my family situation. She specialized in estate and trust disputes. Harrison Matthews for Attorney Rodriguez. It's urgent. She took my call 15 minutes later. I explained the situation, emailed her the photos. This is textbook trust mismanagement, she said after reviewing the documents. Your mother had a fiduciary duty to transfer the property to you. Instead, she's been illegally mortgaging your asset and collecting rent from you. You have grounds for multiple civil suits. What are my options? You can file to claim the property immediately. The court will likely side with you given the clear trust documents. But those mortgages complicate things. Your parents took them out without legal authority, so they might be voidable. But that requires litigation. Could take months, cost thousands in legal fees. What happens if I do nothing? The house forecloses. Your inheritance is gone. Your parents' debt follows them into bankruptcy probably, but your credit and finances remain protected since none of the debt is in your name. I thanked her and sat in my car as the sun set, thinking about choices and consequences and what I owed the people who'd raised me. I spent 3 days thinking about what to do. I talked to Tyler and Jennifer. I talked to Dr. Simmons. I even talked to David at work, who'd become something of a mentor. Everyone gave different advice, and all of it was valid. Tyler said to do what felt right for me, not what I thought I should do. Jennifer reminded me that I didn't owe my parents anything, but that I had to live with whatever choice I made. Doctor, Simmons asked me what I would tell a friend in this situation. David shared his own story of setting boundaries with his brother and how painful but necessary it had been. In the end, I decided based on one principle. I would help, but not sacrifice myself. I would offer support with boundaries, not an unlimited bailout. I hired attorney Rodriguez. We filed to claim the property through the trust. The legal process moved faster than expected because the trust documents were so clear, so professionally prepared. My grandmother had known what she was doing, had anticipated potential issues, and closed every loophole. Within 6 weeks, the court recognized me as the rightful property owner. The mortgages my parents had taken were ruled fraudulent, since they hadn't been legal owners. The banks had to pursue my parents personally for the debt but couldn't touch the house. It was mine, free and clear. I drove to the house one Saturday morning. First time back in almost 3 months. The lawn was overgrown. Paint was chipping on the front door. The whole place looked tired and sad. I knocked on my own front door. My mother answered. She looked like Shed, aged a decade gray, showing in her hair, new lines around her eyes, a fragility I'd never seen before. She saw me and started crying immediately. Harrison, my father, appeared behind her, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Not the manufactured kind Head used to manipulate me growing up. "We need to talk," I said. We sat in the living room. It felt strange being a guest in what was legally my house. Eid brought copies of all the legal documents, laid them out on the coffee table. "The house is mine. It always was supposed to be mine. Grandma left it to me in trust, and you were supposed to transfer it when I turned 25. My mother sobbed. "We were going to. We just needed a little more time to figure out our finances. You took out mortgages on my property, collected rent from me to live in my own house. That's fraud." My father's shoulders slumped. He looked smaller somehow, diminished. We had nowhere else to turn. The gambling debts were crushing us. I tried to stop, kept trying, but I couldn't. I destroyed everything. It was the first honest thing I'd heard from him in months, maybe years. "Where's Madison?" "Couch surfing with friends, working full-time. She won't talk to us much anymore. Blames us for ruining her college plans." My mother's voice was hollow. I took a deep breath. "I'm going to offer you something. You don't have to accept, but it's the only offer I'm making." They both looked at me with something like hope. "You can rent the spare bedroom from me. $600 a month. Market rate for a room in this area. You'll have 6 months to stabilize your finances and find your own place." My father started to speak, but I held up my hand. "Conditions. Dad, you attend Gamblers Anonymous meetings, minimum 3 times a week. You get real professional help, therapy, or counseling. Both of you attend financial counseling. Madison is not included in this arrangement. She's an adult and needs to figure out her own path. You have no access to my personal spaces. I'm changing all the locks and installing locks on my bedroom and office doors. If you violate any condition, you're out immediately with 30 days' notice. This is not negotiable." My father's face reddened. I could see his pride fighting with his desperation. "You want us to pay rent to live in our own house. It's not your house. It never was. And yes, I want you to contribute. $600 a month is generous. A 2-bedroom apartment in this area runs $1,200 minimum." My mother grabbed my father's arm. "Accept it. Please. We have nowhere else to go. I won't be disrespected in my own home by my own son. Then leave. They'll give you 30 days to vacate, and you can figure it out on your own." I stood up. "Let me know your decision by tomorrow." I walked out, got in my car, drove back to Tyler's place. That night I didn't sleep well, wondering if I'd made the right choice, if I'd been too harsh or too lenient, if there even was a right answer. My mother called the next morning. "We accept all the conditions." Your father agreed. I moved back into my own house 2 weeks later. It felt surreal, reclaiming space that should have always been mine. I changed every lock, installed keyed locks on my bedroom and office doors, made my spaces truly private. My parents moved their belongings into the small spare bedroom. Everything else in the house I left, as it was for now. too emotionally exhausted to deal with redecorating. The first month was incredibly awkward. My father barely spoke to me, communicating mostly through grunts and one-word answers. My mother tried too hard to be pleasant, offering to cook meals I didn't ask for, commenting on the weather with forced cheerfulness. We moved around each other like strangers, which I suppose we were in many ways. But slowly, incrementally, things began to shift. My father started attending GA meetings. I could hear him leaving the house 3 evenings a week, returning quiet and thoughtful. He got a job at a hardware store. Nothing glamorous, but steady income. My mother found part-time work at a local bookstore. They went to financial counseling together every Saturday morning. I saw them working on their problems instead of running from them. It didn't erase what they'd done. It didn't magically fix our relationship, but it was something. Progress, maybe, or at least effort. Madison reached out after about a month. Asked to meet for coffee at a place halfway between her apartment and the house. I agreed, cautious but curious. She looked different, less entitled, more tired, but also more grounded somehow. I'm working at a call center. It's terrible, but the pay is decent. Taking 2 classes at community college at night. Business management. That's good. I'm glad you're figuring things out. I wanted to apologize, really apologize, not the fake kind I did before. She stirred her coffee without drinking it. I didn't understand how much they'd been using you, how much had been enabled. I thought you were just being selfish, but you were the only one being real. Everyone else was living in denial. I appreciate that. It's hard. Like, really hard. Paying my own bills, managing money, balancing work and school. I don't know how you did it for so long while also dealing with their manipulation. You learn, and you have self-respect now. That's worth more than easy money. We started meeting for coffee every few weeks, building something new, something more honest than what Wed had before. She was growing up, taking responsibility, learning lessons I'd learned years earlier. Better late than never. 3 months into the arrangement, my father asked if we could talk. We sat on the back porch, the same place where he used to lecture me about responsibility when I was a teenager. I need to say something, he began, and I could see how much it cost him. I have a problem, had it for over a decade. Gambling. Started small, just football games with coworkers. Spiraled into something I couldn't control. Lost everything. Refinanced the house twice trying to chase losses. Stole from you because I was desperate and ashamed and couldn't admit I needed help. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. I was a terrible father, not just these past few years, but always. I put my needs first, used you as an emotional punching bag, took credit for your successes and blamed you for our problems. You deserved better. You deserved a father who protected you, not one who exploited you. I didn't know what to say. This was the most honest conversation Wed ever had. I'm 9 months sober from gambling. Going to meetings, working the steps, all of it. I don't expect you to forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me, but am trying to change. That's all I can do. I see that you're trying. That matters. Your grandmother would be proud of you. Setting boundaries, protecting yourself, but still offering help with conditions. She was tough that way too. Smart. She knew I had problems. That's probably why she set up the trust the way she did. We sat in silence for a while, and it wasn't uncomfortable. Just 2 people existing in the same space, working through complicated feelings. 6 months passed. My parents found a small 2-bedroom apartment they could afford with their combined incomes. Both of them had steady jobs, had made progress in counseling, had started rebuilding their credit slowly. My father was a year sober from gambling. They moved out as agreed. The house felt strange at first, too big and too quiet. But I made it mine, repainted the walls in colors I liked, set up my gaming room properly with my PC and all the peripherals I wanted. Created a real home office for freelance work, bought furniture that reflected my taste, not theirs. Slowly, room by room, I erased their presence and established my own. A year after everything fell apart, I hosted Thanksgiving at my house. but it wasn't the traditional family gathering I'd grown up with. Tyler and Jennifer came with Jennifer's sister and her kids. Kevin came with his sister Sarah and nephew Brandon, who'd become a friend despite the weird circumstances of how Wed met. Madison came, bringing her new boyfriend who seemed decent. My parents came too, but just for dessert, at my invitation. A brief visit, cordial but not central. This was my chosen family, people who respected me, valued me, saw me as a whole person rather than a resource to exploit. My blood relatives were there too, but they'd had to earn their way back into my life. Some had, some were trying, and that was okay. After everyone left, I sat in my gaming chair, the same custom PC humming quietly beside me that I'd built years ago with such care. I thought about everything I'd learned this year, that loving people doesn't mean letting them destroy you, that boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary for healthy relationships, that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices, because that's how real growth happens. I learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about people who see your value and respect it. Tyler and Jennifer became family through choice, through mutual support and reciprocal care. Kevin and Sarah became family through shared values and simple human decency. My blood relatives had to earn that designation back, and that was okay. Some relationships need to be rebuilt from scratch. I learned my worth isn't measured by what I provide others, that I deserve respect, safety, and peace. That saying no isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. That walking away from toxicity isn't giving up, it's choosing yourself. And sometimes that's the bravest choice you can make. Most importantly, I learned that when you save yourself first, when you establish real boundaries and protect your own well-being, you become strong enough to help others properly, not from obligation or guilt or fear, but from genuine choice. Not by sacrificing yourself, but by offering support with conditions that protect everyone involved. My parents hadn't magically transformed into perfect people. My father still struggled with gambling urges. My mother still had codependent tendencies. Madison still had moments of entitlement. But they were trying, taking responsibility, doing the work. And I could witness that without being consumed by it, without sacrificing my own stability to fix them. I opened a new coding project on my PC, the monitor glowing in the darkening room. Life wasn't perfect. My relationship with my parents would probably always be complicated, marked by the scars of what they'd done. But it was honest now, built on clear boundaries, mutual respect, and the understanding that I owed them basic human kindness, not unlimited access to my resources or my peace of mind. For the first time in my 26 years, my life truly belonged to me, built by my own hands, protected by boundaries it fought for, filled with people who valued me for who I was rather than what I could provide. And sitting there in my own house, in my own space, living my own life on my own terms, I felt something I'd never quite felt before. Enough. I was enough. I had enough. I'd done enough. And that was more than okay. That was everything. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family members who didn't respect your autonomy? How did you handle the guilt that came with protecting yourself? I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming family challenges. And if you know someone struggling with similar issues, share this video with them. Sometimes knowing we're not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. And I hope it helps you remember that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you deserve respect, peace, and boundaries that protect your well-being.